Hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video. So it has been quite a while since I've done any sort of plugin review video, but I have just been getting a million ads for this Sky Studios S.K.Y plugin. So I just figured, you know what? I'm gonna buy that thing and I'm gonna see if it's worth all the hype. So this is my 100% unbiased, unfiltered review of the S.K.Y plugin. Let's go. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to brass tacks here. So this S.K.Y plugin, they say it's $129, but I think it's pretty much always on sale for like $40. I also used a little discount code. I think it was like SKY3 or something like that, and it ended up being like $25 for me, which I think is a really good price for pretty much any plugin, especially an instrument VST plugin. To be fair, I would probably never pay $130 for this plugin, but that's just me. So the first key detail I should mention about this plugin is that the installation kind of takes a lot of storage space. You need like 8 gigabytes of space on your drive. And if you're anything like me, that's definitely going to cause some problems because I usually never have more than like a gigabyte of free space on my computer. So that was kind of a headache getting this thing installed because I had to move a bunch of files around and all that kind of stuff. So the one major qualm that I have with this plugin that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is annoying. The plugin is gigantic and I cannot resize it. So I really hope in future updates they add a resize feature to the plugin because it's kind of just annoying taking up the entirety of my screen. However, that might just be an FL Studio thing or a me thing or whatever, but I'm sure if I'm having the problem, some other people will have it as well. But once you actually get the plugin working and load it into your DAW, this is what the whole user interface looks like. On the left here, you got different sound categories. You got a little browser for all the sounds that are in the plugin, which I must say is quite a lot of presets. And then in the main section, you've got a little waveform preview of the sound. You've got some attack and release sliders right here. You've got all this jazz here at the bottom, these little effects and whatnot, which I'll talk about in a bit. This is a little saturation feature right here, which is pretty cool. It just kind of distorts your sounds. Then there's also this little settings icon up here, which is really cool, and there's a lot of other different features in there. You can change the humanization of the individual presets, change the velocity range, and all this other stuff. All right, so let me give you a little sample of what all of these different effects down here kind of do. I'll be 100% honest with you, I have no idea what this first one does. When you move these knobs, it doesn't change the pitch at all, which is kind of weird. That's what you would think it would do if it's like a shift knob. Like this right here, it's a lot more plucky sounding than if I take the knobs and turn them way down. However, this reverse feature is very cool. You're basically able to select the portion that you want to reverse, and you can change it to different time increments as well. So now if I press a key, you get a cool kind of fluttery repeating type sound. Probably a better example is the whole step thing. Then you have just a standard vibrato thing. This is very basic. You can just change the flutter, speed, depth, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's a very extreme example, but this can be used for some really cool kind of lo-fi type effects. Then we just got a standard filter and a reverb option. You can change the settings of the reverb a little bit. This tone knob here is kind of just like another filter. If you have it all the way down, just sounds like a low pass filter. One really great thing about this plugin is all of the different effects and customization features and ways that you can change sounds within here. I would say the one complaint that I have is that it would be nice to have a couple different types of reverb. Like if there was one that was more of like a chamber reverb, a hall reverb, small room reverb, that would be really nice. Like maybe you just click on the reverb thing right here and there's a drop down. You can choose what type of reverb you want. Maybe doing the same thing with a couple of these, like the vibrato is maybe you can change it to a chorus or a tremolo or something like that. That would be a really cool feature, I think. So that's pretty much the basic rundown of all the features within the plugin. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the presets in here, which I did actually go through and I listened to every single preset. I clicked on every single one, messed around with it. I saved quite a few presets within here that I know I'll definitely be using in the future. So yeah, if you want to select a preset, you just click on it like this. And if you want to save that preset to your favorites tab, you can just click on this little star thing. So anyways, after listening to every single preset within this plugin, I'm going to give you a quick little pros and cons list of the things that I've discovered. We'll start with the pros. The first thing that I like is that there's a lot of really good textured sounds in here. For example, this flute dusty preset, you can hear like the vinyl crackle and you can hear all the imperfections and everything. It just sounds really cool. Another example is this toy piano preset, which you can actually hear the sound of the keys being pressed down. It just makes it sound so much more realistic that way with all the imperfections in there, and I think they did a really good job with that. Another pro here, I kind of touched on it already, but the humanization feature is incredible. Just the fact that I can go in here and I can just turn up the humanization, and all of these notes will now sound totally different. That's awesome, and I think every plugin needs to have that. Another thing about this plugin that I think is really great is how much customization there is. Like let's say we got this sound right here. And maybe I just don't like how much high end is in this. Let's take the low pass and just bring it down a little bit. But maybe I also don't like how the notes ring out so much, so we can just take the release and bring it down. Maybe I also think the sound is like too much in your face, so we can just add a little bit more of this reverb in there. And that right there is almost an entirely different sound from one preset. Just the fact that you can do that with a couple simple little buttons is really cool, especially for people who don't really know a whole lot about sound design. This makes that really easy for you to do. Also, even though I saved not very many presets comparatively to the amount that are in here, I can pretty much unequivocally say, is that a word? I can pretty much unequivocally say that all of the presets in here sounded good. Because genuinely, there's a lot of other plugins that I've tried out there where I'll just flip through the presets and maybe 1 out of every 10 is actually usable. But I can confidently say that every single one of these presets in here is usable, which is really awesome to just see a plugin that's filled with actual high quality sounds, of which there are so many. This is so many presets. I think it's like 2,400 presets or something. That's quite a lot, and with the amount of customization features and this drag and drop thing that I'll touch on in a bit, you have pretty much infinite amount of sounds in this plugin. The other pro that I'm very happy to announce is that all these presets can definitely be used for a lot of different genres. I was worried before I got the plugin, just looking at it and everything, that it was just going to be all trap beat sounds, which is all fine and dandy, but I don't really make a whole lot of in the DAW trap beats or electronic music or anything anymore. But I do like to use VST plugins for certain stuff where I can't really get the real sound, like with analog synths or with like a piano or with strings or whatever, that kind of stuff. For example, like this piano right here. This soft piano sound I think is even better. I just absolutely love this sound. That preset can be used in anything from Minecraft music to trap beats to whatever you want to make. And the final pro here that I like quite a lot is the drag and drop feature. You can basically just take any sample that you have, drag and drop it into here. I just sampled one guitar note and it basically made a whole guitar preset within here. I sampled that from my acoustic guitar. It doesn't really sound like an acoustic guitar, but it's a whole new kind of unique thing on its own. So I can imagine this being really cool to play around with as just a sampler in general, regardless of all the presets and everything. But of course, we do have to mention some of the cons with this plugin as well. Admittedly, there's not a whole lot. So I mentioned the sizing issue earlier. That's definitely one thing. Also, I noticed when looking through presets earlier that the favorites thing is sometimes a little bit weird. Sometimes like this right here, I'll hover my mouse where the star is supposed to be and it doesn't show up. But when I go up here, the star appears and I try to click on it and it just doesn't work. So that's a little bit of a weird thing. The way that I found to remedy that in FL Studio is just to go to this little gear thing, switch over to this screen and then switch back. And now you'll be able to favorite it again. Just a very weird little glitch that I found. Also, I gotta say, with 2,400 presets in here, there are quite a few presets that sound very much the same. There are a lot of just like plucky synthy type sounds, which are great. You know, we can always use more plucky synthy type sounds, but there's a lot of them that are like almost identical, and I would probably never use one over the other. This is another minor thing, but I noticed a lot of the piano presets and other sounds that are clearly sampled from like a real instrument will take a little bit longer to load up. It's not a long delay or anything, but it's maybe like 5 seconds extra. And really my last qualm that I have with this plugin, which is honestly kind of a nitpicky thing, but I would have loved to have heard some more live string sounds. If you search up strings, there's really only like 4 string presets, and they're all very much like synthy strings. That's about as synthy as it gets right there. So yeah, I personally would have loved to have heard some more live string sounds, maybe some other live instruments in here as well. I think a lot of people would really benefit from just having more live instrument VST plugins out there, because listen, honestly, in my opinion, we've got enough Omnispheres, we've got enough Nexuses, and we've got enough digital synth robot sounds out there. It would be nice to have some more live sounds, like the pianos and the kalimbas and all the other little stuff that's in here. Those sounds are really great in my opinion. So yeah, honestly, that is pretty much the extent of this plugin. I've covered most of what you're gonna need to know if you're interested in it. I'll play a couple of the presets that I favorited just because there's quite a few good ones in there. This one I feel like is trying to emulate the sound from Everything in Its Right Place, the Radiohead song. I would say it does a fairly good job. I like the sound quite a bit. But that is another example of how I was talking about there's a lot of just plucky synth sounds. That is one of them right there. They got the Mellotron Strawberry Fields strings in here, which is really cool. And that goes back to the thing I was talking about with the texturing. Great texturing on that sound. This Garden Logic preset, I love this. It sounds really cool. That's such a cool ambient sound. I feel like I'm going to be using that quite a lot. There's a couple guitar presets in here, which I know you guys are going to like because you love your guitar VSTs. As far as guitar plugins go, that's a pretty good sound right there. They also have the Sicko Mode synth in here, which they actually did a really good job on. And pretty much all the piano presets are really good, even this unpleasant piano one. But yeah, honestly, I think that is pretty much it as far as the S.K.Y Keys plugin goes. My final synopsis of this plugin, is it actually worth it? I would say yeah. If you can get it for 25 bucks or like maybe even 40 bucks, I'd say it's worth it. I would never pay 130 for it, like I said. There's a lot of sounds that I think I'm probably going to be using quite frequently. And also with all the effects and customization features, there's a lot of ways that you can really get creative with it. So I would say that this plugin's worth it and you might as well go ahead and check it out. But yeah, so that is pretty much going to do it for me in this video here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you guys for watching and I will see you all next time.